Orange man bad, says the media breathlessly here in Canada.
John Kelly has said is that Trump is a fascist. And Harris also agreed when
he's really would be a danger to our democracy.
How can you possibly have a candidate running in an election who's bad for democracy when he's following the election process?
I think the greatest threat to Canada in the history of our country is a second Trump term.
The CBC, who's already under the gun for being biased. Pierre Poilievre saying, hey, we're going to defund the CBC. They've done 2 podcasts already to that effect, trying to defend their very existence. And you think maybe they've learned their lesson. Maybe they've learned their lesson. Maybe they're going to give us a fair and balanced view. But no, we don't see that. We just hear over and over again how Trump is bad for democracy. There are 700,000 Americans who are eligible to vote living in Canada.
Could be so close that the expat Americans living in Canada could actually be the determining factor.
It was the American voter abroad. Canada, that's you. The American voter abroad that won the state of Georgia, that won the state of Arizona.
And they try to scare us with tariffs. They cite an economic disaster if a Trump presidency is to be enacted.
Look at the language he's using about tariffs and tariffing all imported goods.
Telling us that I got to be afraid of a possible economic disaster if Trump's elected. Well, I put it to you, my fine listeners, we've already had an economic disaster here in Canada. That we've already got people who are on the ropes, living on the edge, living without even a prayer.
I would say his other policies, one of which should be of deep concern to Canadians, is rounding up migrants in the United States.
Well, hey, how about respecting borders and citizenship rules and not claiming asylum like they're doing here in Canada, claiming asylum to get around the process of our system, trying to game the system? How about respecting the immigration rules that we've already put into place?
Our potential targets, with a risk of attacks at polling stations, campaign events, and ballot counting centers.
I'm deeply concerned about the Canada-U.S. relationship under a Trump 2.0. I've used the words, this is your tsunami warning.
In Arizona, election workers are counting ballots inside a walled-off compound with snipers on the rooftop.
What do you think the chances are of there being violence after the U.S. election, especially?
I think it's fairly high. I mean,
we are absolutely confident that we will be able to work effectively with whomever the American people elect. I'm so certain of that.
So a presidential candidate who has not accepted the outcome of the past election, democracy the day after, or the state of peaceful transfer of power. Obviously, that is also the concern in this country.
They warn us of impending possible violence, while Freeland does her best act at telling us that everything's going to be okay, no matter who wins. More than anything, I think we need a freedom-loving president in the USA just to shift, if nothing else, just to shift that Overton window of what is acceptable political discourse. Because I don't think we really even are conservative enough here in Canada. I think that even our own Conservative Party here, talking about UBI, right? I've seen Melissa Lantsman talking about UBI, that kind of thing. We need an even greater ally. Because I don't think right now, I don't think anyone's got the guts to really go full bore, capitalist and freedom loving. We just don't have it. Cronyism, corruption rules the day here in Canada. And immigration's out of whack. And I'd love to see a different government in the States so that our own conversations can change. Thanks so much for your time.